Right, we're going to start with a love story, not a typical love story. This is about Crystal and John Tiedjen. They got married this month. The bride wore a dress. The groom wore an ankle monitor.
Yeah, that was because Crystal was actually marrying the man convicted of killing her brother, Brian. Now the newlyweds are determined to prove John's innocence. They're joining us now from their home in Ohio, in Cleveland. Good morning to you both. I know it's very, very early in the morning for you, so thank you for getting up so early. I think, Crystal, people will be very shocked at that headline, "I married my brother's killer." Why?
Well, I love Johnny for one thing, but as far as him being my brother's killer, that's not an accurate statement.
I'm sorry, Crystal, we are having a little bit of problem hearing you. That was a bit quiet. Could you just say that again and a little bit louder for us, please?
I was saying that title is not accurate. He obviously did not kill my brother. That is why there's a new trial.
There is a new trial. Let's go back and talk about your brother, Brian. You were just 12 years old when he died. Tell us a little bit about him.
He was a little rebel. He was a tomboy, he liked motorcycles and partying, and he was a rebel teenager.
And John, you grew up together, didn't you, with Brian? What was your friendship, your relationship like?
Just typical. I mean, he's my best friend. We worked on motorcycles together, Triumphs and Harleys, hung out, shot pool. Did everything. You've seen him, you've seen me.
Yeah, well, except the thing is, John, we would have seen you for the past 32 years in prison, accused of killing Brian. What was it like serving that huge amount of time for a crime you say you didn't commit? That must be completely soul-destroying, if true.
I couldn't believe that it even happened like that. I mean, I didn't do the crime, and how would you end up in prison for something you didn't do?
And Crystal, why do you believe when John says to you he didn't do this, he didn't kill your brother? Why do you believe him?
Because I literally sat and read and studied this entire case, unfortunately. Why I say unfortunately is because I've seen pictures of my brother that I wish I'd never seen in my life. Obviously, dead. It was very traumatic.
Yeah. Obviously, you two are very happy. You're very in love. Could I ask you, Crystal, though, what do other members of your family make of this union?
Well, there's mixed emotions on both sides of our family. It's a hard thing to come to terms with everything that's been going on, especially with me and Johnny. It's kind of mind-blowing for them. But, I've said this before, people are not going to completely understand our relationship, and we have to be okay with that. If I wasn't okay with that, we wouldn't have gotten married.
Well, when John was convicted of your brother's murder, you obviously didn't have any contact. So how did you get back into contact, and why did you forgive him?
I don't, for whatever reason, one day when I was driving to the lake, he came to my mind. I want to say back in 2016, something like that. And I wrote him a letter just telling him that I forgave him, and, he was God to forgive him too. And he ended up writing me back and saying, "Thank you for the letter, but I need to look at this evidence because I did not do this." And I had no idea that it actually aired in Cleveland, the reconstruction that Scott Roeder did. I'd never seen it on the news, and I ended up getting that link and seeing it, and it was a little overwhelming to watch all of that.
Now, John, you've got a second chance. I don't know how you feel about this, but basically your conviction was overruled. You've been granted a new trial after a judge found that 70% of the crime scene photos and various police reports had not been disclosed to the defence prior to the original trial. Do you think that that missing evidence will change or could have changed the outcome?
Absolutely. There was things they hid that just didn't come out. All kinds of things. Other parties being present at the house that night. No one knew that they were there. The fact that it was a suicide and not a murder. And the knife wound was self-inflicted. They withheld that. They withheld all kinds of stuff, all kinds of evidence. I never would have been convicted of this crime had they would have came out with all that evidence.
So John, do you believe it was a murder or a suicide?
Oh, I believe it was a suicide.
Although, John, I understand your prints were found on the gun which was used to shoot Brian.
We used to go to the pistol range a lot, me and Brian did, and that weapon didn't fire a lot. It was one fingerprint, but I never denied touching the weapons. It was malfunctioning. Most people know that semi-automatics eject shells. This one, the thing that ejects the shell, the piece was broke, so it wouldn't eject shells, and we were trying to fix it.
Yeah. A lot of people, if it was suicide, we would be relying then on Brian to have stuck a knife into his chest and then shot himself in the forehead.
Correct. This was a superficial wound, and it didn't go deep. It penetrated about a ½ inch. It's a 9.5-inch Bowie knife, and it went straight in, no deviation up or down. And they call it a hesitant wound. It only went in slightly and then back out. It wasn't like a stab, like two people drunk into a fight. Because if two people are drunk into a fight, you bury it to the hilt. And here he had bled for an hour and a half, and he didn't even stop. He didn't try to stop the bleeding or nothing. That's what the forensics show.
Okay. Crystal, it is fascinating, whatever people make of this, and it's for a court of law to decide on appeal whether they believe John or not. The question is, you do believe him. You two love each other. You two feel you were destined to be. And for our viewers today watching this, they will say, so he's been accused and he served 32 years for killing her brother. She's forgiven him and she marries him. What would you say to people who would question your relationship?
You know, I've said this before. There's two people that lost their lives that night, which is my brother, and unfortunately, Johnny lost 32 years of his life. I love Johnny with all my heart. I'm not saying this relationship is going to be easy by any means. It's going to be extremely challenging. It's a huge roller coaster with the court dates and family, and obviously it's in the media. It's all over here. We'll get through this, and it'll just make us stronger in the long run.
And Crystal, can I ask you, if the outcome of the retrial is that John is still found guilty, how will you feel about that? Would you accept that verdict?
Well, you kind of have no choice if that's what they do. I mean, he has a good lawyer, and if for any reason something like that was to happen, I'm sure she will do everything to fight for Johnny, like she has this entire time. And I trust Kim wholeheartedly to do the right thing. It's just a matter of our justice system doing the right thing, because the sad thing is there's evidence, or there was things that were never introduced to evidence, like there's a piece of paper in my brother's back pocket. We'll never know what that said. There's a lot of things that we'll probably never know, because the way they conducted this entire investigation was totally improper.
John, there's absolutely no doubt that Crystal believes you. She believes all that you've said to her. She believes in your innocence. What difference has this woman made to your life, and do you think this is the ultimate in forgiveness?
It's not about just forgiveness here. I didn't have anything to be forgiven for. I didn't do the crime. And we put it in God's hands to begin with. And God has opened all these doors. He's made everything come out to light. And that's where it's at. And she's totally changed my life. She's brought a radiant beauty into it. You know, I couldn't be more happier at all. I mean, I'm like living a dream.
Well, we look forward to hearing how all this resolves itself, what is going to happen. Thank you for talking to us. It's Crystal and John Tiedjen, newly married, and Crystal lost her half-brother Brian in 1989. She fell in love with the man who was convicted of that killing, John, who is there beside her, after writing to him in prison. Guys, thank you both very much indeed. Thank you.
Thank you.